Soul recovery is not a process you do alone. This is about community. So I want to remind you about some of the ways that you can connect with others on the spiritual journey. First is to join us on the first Monday of every month for the free soul recovery support group on Zoom. It is from 6 to 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and the next one is going to be on March 3rd. And I hope you'll also join me in person at one of the retreats or even on the virtual online retreat this year. The next retreat is going to be on Saturday, March 1st in Sacramento, California for a half-day sacred circle. Everything is on the website, recoveryoursoul.net. For so long in my life, I was trying to manage and control everything. I wanted to make it all work. But the more that I was doing that, the more I was actually resisting the natural flow of how things are. And sometimes things are messy and complicated and sticky. But when you lean into the trust that things are working out for us, that all is well and I am well, that we can just allow the process to unfold and we can see that there is an alignment in things even when it doesn't seem like it at the time, we can relax and allow it to actually play out in the way that might be how it's supposed to be or might be the best for us in the long run. And we don't know the answer to those things. But when we let go of control, we're actually opening up to something even greater still. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast, a spiritual path to a happy and healthy life. My name is Reverend Rachel Harrison. I started Recover Your Soul after having profound changes in my life from my recovery of alcoholism, codependency, and control addiction. I was guided to share the tools and principles of spirituality and soul recovery to help others transform their lives as mine was transformed. For us to overcome external circumstances, we need to turn the attention to ourselves, focusing on our inner change and healing. Positive results in our lives will follow. It's Rev Rachel. Welcome to the Recover Your Soul podcast and this beautiful, incredible community. I love that we're all in this together. I know I say that a lot, but it means a lot to me to really know that when we feel like we're so alone. I was reflecting this morning in my journaling around how much loneliness I had as a child. And when I reflect about what's happened in my life as I've gotten older, it's been about gathering community of your own. We come in with our family of origin, as it's called, and there's such value in our families, but really it's around the community that you gather around yourself. And so as we are all in our individual spaces listening to this podcast, we're really in it together. It's like we're in a big room feeling each other's energy. And I hope you feel that because I feel that. Today, I wanted to talk about the concept of it's happening for me instead of to me. And even more about being in the flow that we can trust that things are working out for us, that we can trust that it is happening for me, and that part of us that is really in reaction to things that have been difficult in the past or our desire to try to control or manage everything around us is in resistance to this flow of energy that says everything's working out. It's all okay. When I first started my spiritual journey 7 years ago, one of the courses that I took on Insight Timer was a mantra course. And it was 30 days, I believe, of these mantras. And so every morning I would wake up and I would turn on these mantras. And it's been so long, I can't really remember what they were or really the foundation of the course. But what I remember is that it was the beginning of my evening out of my nervous system, that I had been on such high alert for so long, and things had been so difficult for such a long time, that this practice that I was doing every morning of listening to this woman doing these mantras, and you were supposed to sing with her on these mantras, what I started singing instead of what she was saying in the mantra was, all is well. All is well, I am well. All is well, I am well. And it was this switch in how I had been seeing it, because what I had been feeling is nothing's okay. Nothing is well. I'm not safe. It's not safe. I don't like how it is around here. I don't feel good. How do I change it? How do I fix it? All of those places where we're powerless. And of course, my anxiety was on a level 9 because all I was thinking was, I'm not safe. All is not well. I'm not well. And I remember that about halfway through that process of waking up every morning, and this is when the kids were still around a lot. And I remember that in our bedroom downstairs at our house is in the basement. And so the upper level, we have a tiny little house. It's 1,400 square feet or something. And it's the bedrooms downstairs with a bathroom and what used to be another bedroom. Now it's a music room for Rich. And then on the main level is a living room, dining room, kitchen, bedroom. So it's a little box. So I'm down in the bedroom in the basement and I'm listening to these mantras, and the kids and Rich are upstairs, and there's some kerfluffle happening, right? There's something that was happening. And as I was down in my bedroom listening to this mantra saying, all is well, I am well. All is well, I am well. I could feel the shift starting to happen inside of me that could hold space for the contrast, for the complexity, for the messiness, right, that's happening. And that whatever was happening upstairs, I could actually let it go. And I remember on that particular day, because it was one of those times when in the past I probably would have jumped up and gotten all involved and tried to triangulate and do the thing that I do to go in and fix it and try to manage the situation. And by the time I finished my mantra thing, whatever the kerfluffle was over. I mean, completely over. And then I got up with my day and they were fine and I was fine because I had regulated myself. And the more that I step into my soul recovery journey, the more I'm getting in the flow. I mean, I talk about this a lot, about being in the flow of the universe. What is that flow of the universe? Being in the flow of the river. And that the river, I love the vision of the river because sometimes the river is smooth and easy, and sometimes it's these huge rapids. The walls constrict, the water's rushing in, it's intense, and the people that make it in those rough waters are the ones that work with the water. They don't resist. They don't try to push against it. They don't try to do something different. You just stay in your boat and you oar and you move through and you let the water push you through. And then there'll be tranquility again. This life that we're on is such an interesting journey. And when I started to make the shift for everything is actually working out for me and that I can open up to a higher power, the fourth step in soul recovery is co-creating with a power greater than yourself. It's this co-creation that for so long we've been in a place where maybe we think we're the only one doing it. There's no one there for us. This loneliness that I felt as a child wasn't because I didn't have parents that weren't around or didn't love me, but I was sent off on my own from a very early age to take care of my own needs, to play with myself, to make myself comfortable, to soothe myself. You know, this reflection that I have sometimes when I am curious about what are my core wounds, what are those pieces of me that are still working on my stuff. We're always uncovering more stuff. And that piece that doesn't know how to be in the contrast because there wasn't a lot of conflict when I was growing up, I recognize that it's like it doesn't feel comfortable in the rapids of the river. And I'm learning, even at 55 years old, how to trust that I can be okay, right? That loneliness that I felt created a sense of isolation, that there's no one there for me. And that no one's there for me translated out into not having the depth of spiritual trust that I wanted to have, that has always been in there, right? The things that I say, if they speak to you, it's because you feel it already. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already have within you. I'm just reminding you of who you are, just like I was reminded of who I was. And I continue to be reminded. It's an evolving journey. So this piece of resistance that we have is really us trying to protect ourselves. And if you haven't listened to the episode on protectors and parts, I highly recommend that episode from last year. I love that episode because when I really start looking at how I have created some of the not so desirable aspects of myself, or the parts of me that keep me stuck, or the parts of me that keep me from opening to love, or the parts of me that keep me from trusting, they're just protections. They're just the parts of me that are protecting other parts of me from my old wounded belief systems, right? This little girl who felt like she had to do it all on her own. And I was also reflecting this morning about how, my mom was such a lovely mom in so many ways. Like, she's so peaceful. She's so easygoing. She doesn't tell me what to do. She is a Buddhist. She's very even keeled. When her house burned down, she got a tear in her eye one time, right? I sobbed hysterically when her house burned down, but she was able to let it go. Well, if you look at that from the side of learning how to have emotions, her emotions are so flat that I didn't learn how to have in reflection. If you're reflecting from how your parents are, so many of you came from families that had a totally different story where it was so tumultuous, so intense, right? You didn't know if it was going to be big anger or big upset. And then the one that you're going to get, am I getting the cheerful mom or the heavy mom? Am I getting the cheerful, loving dad, or am I getting the angry, intense dad? So many of you came from addiction. And so this piece where you're using your parents as a reflection tool to learn how to feel. And for me, it was very flat. And I've been really thinking a lot about that because the more that I dig into it, the more I realize I didn't really know how to handle my own up and down emotions, because the expectation in my own mind was that you just stayed flat. It should all just be good. Well, life isn't just good all the time. Life is complex and messy. Life is complicated. It has twists and turns. We are creative beings, and creativity is solving problems. We love stories that have these intense storylines of trial and tribulation and the hero's journey, and they make it and they figure it out. This is who we are, and yet in our own lives, we kind of want to achieve this flatness. Well, the flatness actually doesn't have a lot of the spark or energy either. So this part of me as a little girl that was kind of trying to understand the serious nature of my mom is still, I think, searching for that, and resists the waves, the turbulence, right? That turbulence of being in the river when it's intense. And when I lean into the fact that everything's actually working out, what if everything's working out? Even the hard stuff, what if that's part of some journey? And instead of seeing it as hardship, what if I just see it as part of the adventure? Then it shifts the mindset, it resets, it reframes how you're showing up in it. But what's interesting is the more you let go of the resistance, at least this has been my huge, so true. The more I let go of the resistance, the more it unfolds beautifully, naturally. It just opens up. You don't have to try to figure it all out, because the controller in me wants to line it all up, because if it's all lined up, then I can feel safe, and I feel safe, then everything's even, right? You see how it all starts to lean back, and you can start to see where these belief systems were created. But if I step into my co-creation with a higher power, if I truly, truly believe with all of my heart that I am being cared for, well attended to, that everything that I need is available to me, that I have to trust, and I'm not saying this makes your life easy and simple. I'm saying that you can trust, The less you resist, the more you can lean in and trust and have faith in whatever that higher power is for you. So here I am. I'm recording this podcast in Sacramento, California, a few days before my son Alex and his girlfriend Lexi are going to be induced to have their baby. And it was interesting as we were getting closer to planning this trip. my control stuff was coming up around, getting airplane tickets and wanting to be there. And my biggest desire was I didn't want to miss it. I had not gone and done the baby shower. So if you've been listening to the podcast, these storylines, and you can go back and pick up on some of those storylines. And there's an episode around Christmas around this. But I made the choice to leave California at Christmas, which meant that I missed the baby shower. And so Alex said, it's okay to miss the baby shower, but it's really important to me that you're there for the birth. Well, babies don't just generally come on a day. Generally, they come when they darn well feel like it, when the universe shoots them into the world to have their experience. And yet, I have a schedule, I have clients, I have a business, I have things that I need to do. And that part of me, that control part of me, was really activated because my biggest fear was that I would let my son down by not being here for the birth of his baby, because that's important. And how do I show up? How do you plan when there's no planning? And then I would just say to myself, I'm all right. All is well. I am well. Everything is working out for us. Everything is smooth and easy. The more I just lean into, it's all going to work out, Rachel. It's okay. But it also means that I needed to take action. Are you ready to step into your soul recovery? Visit the website recoveryoursoul.net to learn more about the 9-step soul recovery process. I hope that you'll join us the first Monday of every month for the free soul recovery support group on Zoom, where we learn more about soul recovery and connect with each other. If you'd like to work directly with me to move through the 9-step soul recovery process, I'm here for you, but you can also choose to work the steps on your own with individual modules intended to support you to work at your own pace and on your own time. And if you want even more soul recovery, join us for the Recover Your Soul bonus podcast for Patreon members and Apple Podcast subscribers, where I interview amazing people sharing soul recovery tips for us and also do spiritual book studies. You can also find daily inspiration on Facebook and Instagram and join our private Facebook community. Visit the website for more information, links, and registration for everything. Back to the episode. Hi, it's Rev Rachel, and I'm just taking a quick break to check in with you about the upcoming retreats and workshops in 2025. I know for me, part of my recovery was around meeting in groups and connecting on that deeper level. And so the opportunity for us to come together in retreats, either in person or virtually, helps us to remember that we are not doing it alone, to be able to learn about the 9-step soul recovery process in community, and to be with me personally to receive the teaching and to get that feedback and support one-on-one that is so impactful. I'm going to be having retreats both in Sacramento, California, and also in my neck of the woods in Colorado, and even a virtual retreat if you can't travel. Please check out the website, recoveryoursoul.net, to learn more, and I hope you'll join me this year. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. So, Lexi has hypertension, so she needs to be induced if she didn't have the baby already. And now we're at the place where he didn't come, but more about that. So because of her hypertension, they did decide that they were going to book a date. Now, I don't know if you've heard the whole story about when they found out that they were pregnant, the due date given was 222. And Lexi's been wearing a necklace that says 222 for years. And so it was just this beautiful moment where this due date that was given was the same due date of a number that is one of her favorite numbers. And this is the kind of stuff that if you allow yourself to be in the flow, if you allow yourself to really recognize that it's not like there's some rule book or playbook or something that you don't have free will, because spirituality says you absolutely have free will. That the whole thing about our human experience here on Earth School is that there is this energy, this power greater than ourselves that is a web of creative force, that is frequency. And if you listen to the bonus podcast on Friday which I actually was a talk that I gave at a spiritual center, which I loaded the full video on YouTube. So if you're not an Apple Podcast subscriber or Patreon member, which I encourage you, become a Patreon member. It's free. If you want to support the podcast, that's great. And you can become a paid subscriber and have access to all the past episodes and those bonus episodes. I am so grateful for this community. If you want to just listen on the first week that those episodes are dropped, free members can do that. So get on Patreon and get these episodes because they will help support your soul recovery journey with all the beautiful interviews and the book studies. And we're about to dive deeply into more Al-Anon and codependency stuff from a poll from the community. Okay, all that aside. So last Friday, I did this episode that was a talk that I gave at a spiritual center about energy and about light, right? We are actually attracting the frequency in which we feel on the inside. Our lives on the outside are a direct reflection of how we feel on the inside. And my spiritual journey is evidence of that. That when I was in chaos, when I was unhappy, when I was miserable, my life was chaotic and miserable. I got the same people in my life. I have the same people in my life. I got that same husband. I got those same kids. They're still with their own issues. One is sober, one is not sober. You know, my husband is still rich, even though he's sober. He still has his own stuff. We will end up raising the vibration through our own healing. We will shine a light in the world around us by being our most healed selves and truly believing that everything is indeed working out for us. So here's this baby who was due on 2/22. And then, you know, because of her hypertension, then they're scheduling things. And I'm thinking to myself, I've got to plan. I've got to get a date. I've got to get an Airbnb. I've got to, you know, all the planning that we need to do. And I'm always connecting with my spirit guides, with my internal knowings, and asking for what's right from that place of everything's working out for me and that trusting. And when I push, I can feel it. You can feel it when it feels like you're pushing against something that's hard. But when you allow, it's like things just happen. So I looked at the airfares and I picked the 19th because it was a cheap day to fly. Then I went down and I said, oh, I think I'll stay 2 weeks. And then I decided 2 weeks was too long. So then I backed it off a little bit and made it be 12 days. And then I said, you know what? If the baby comes before then, I'll pop on a flight and I'll get there before then. It was this release of that resistance that we have to plan everything. And when they went in to get their last doctor's appointment, they picked an induction date. The induction date was the 21st. So now I've come coming in on the 19th. I pick an Airbnb, and you know, Airbnbs won't give you the address, but I picked one that was within a couple blocks from what the little picture was from where they live here in Sacramento. And I kept going in and looking again and again and again. Do you ever do that where you like go in, you're like, oh, I'm going to pick something and then something, and you're like, oh, am I making the right choice? There's so much of me that like wants to do it right and wants to have it be smooth and easy. But this one place just kept popping again and again and again saying, pick me, pick me, pick me. So I finally commit and I get the reservation. I pay that extra $100 so that if I needed to cancel or change it, you know, just for my own peace of mind. And then I get the email that gives me the actual address of this Airbnb. And it is literally exactly across the street from Alex and Lexi's apartment. I mean, across the street from them. And I felt that feeling. Everything's working out when I trust and allow. And then we get here and we get a car, and Rich drives down to Santa Cruz to go be with Bodhi so that he can go get some surfing in so that he's satisfied. And I just settled in. I just had that, everything's working out. Everything's working out. And now they just changed the induction so that it's likely that she's going to have that baby on 2/22. 222, just like has been showing up. Rich has so many screenshots that he has from looking down at his phone, and it's 222. I mean, screenshot after screenshot after screenshot. And it's that, what if we trust? What if you allow? What if you just say, I want to be part of something greater still. I want to stop being the one in charge. I want to co-create. I want to allow it to be in the flow. I want to trust that even if it's hard, I can handle it. By the time this airs, we'll know whether it actually came on 222 before or after. He'll come when he's ready. He'll come when it's time for him. But this part of me that wants to figure everything out, wants to make sure that everything is easy, wants to soothe that child that is trying to keep that baseline. The more healed I get, the more I recognize that if I'm grounded, if I'm steady, it can be turbulent and I'm going to be okay. It's really not my adult self who can't handle it. It's really these younger parts of myself. And they continue to have more and more freedom to say, I'm scared, or I don't know what to do about this, or I want to figure it out, or I don't want people to be upset. And then I do all this inner dialogue with myself that doesn't take all that much time, that nobody knows that I'm doing. And I just am kind to myself. And I just allow it to relax. Now, is this situation with Alex and Lexi going to be smooth and easy? I don't know. I would love for it to. I would love to set up some sort of magic wand that could make it be without any issues. But really, is that what life is all about? We are problem solvers. We are heroes having a hero's journey. We are here to explore and to have an adventure. So I want everything to go smoothly on so many different levels, but I also know that it's going to be whatever it's going to be, and that we can all handle it. And we can handle it with grace and kindness and sweetness. And I was on the phone with Rich this morning checking in, and he and Bodhi were just about to go out and do their surfing. And he was just so sweet. He just said, what I'm most happy about is that our family is here doing this together. And I just thought, wow, I would have never, 10 years ago when things were especially horrendous, I would have never thought that we'd be on the phone and he would just be so giddy and excited to be in life with our family. And that was my experience. If you were to ask him, he probably has a whole different experience of, how all this whole story has been for him. But for me, to really see the healing that has happened in our family is so profound. And it's because I've switched my switch to saying everything actually is working out. It may not be working out to be easy. It may not be working out to be without contrast or without complexity or without mess, but it is working out. And I can trust that. And the more I lean into it, the more things just line up. Easy going, easy does it. Including being able to be here across the street from Alex and Lexi. I've done about 3 loads of laundry already in this little Airbnb. I get to meet up with people who are in this area next weekend and have a little sacred circle. I get to experience the birth of this new little baby coming into the world. It's a soul coming in to have its own experience, and it chose our family. What a blessing. I'll keep you posted on how everything's going, and I'll probably do some social media posts, maybe with or without babies. We'll see if they let pictures happen, but I'm just here for the ride. And the more that I let go of the need to control, the more enjoyable the ride is. And that's the part I'm grateful for. As a reminder, if you want support with this, my suggestion would be to go to the website, check out recoveryoursoul.net, look at the 9-step soul recovery process. If you want to do it on your own, you can do the modules yourself. And I have the first 4 steps up and ready to go. I'm working on the remaining steps. You can also work with me as a spiritual coach. Please come and join the free Soul Recovery Support Group the first Monday of every month. It's a beautiful group. I have retreats and workshops this year. We're just here doing our work together, because together we can do the work that will recover our soul. Until next time, namaste. Thank you for listening, and I hope that helps support your soul recovery process. Just a reminder that every Friday is the Recover Your Soul bonus podcast. This podcast is for Patreon members and Apple Podcast subscribers. And not only do you get an incredible interview or book study that comes with being part of that community, but your subscribing helps support this podcast and the Recover Your Soul community. If you want to listen to those bonus episodes but can't subscribe right now, do know that you can be a free Patreon member and have access for limited time to new episodes. Visit the website recoveryoursoul.net or check out the show links below for coupons and information for upcoming events. I thank you for sharing this podcast with your friends and family. I thank you for giving it 5 stars, and the reviews that are left bring tears to my eyes. I am honored to be part of your life. Together, we can do the work that will recover your soul. The Recover Your Soul podcast and its content is for educational purposes only and is not allied or representative of any organizations or religions. It's based on the opinions and experience of Reverend Rachel Harrison. Recover Your Soul claims no responsibility to any persons or entity for any liability, loss, damage, or cause alleged to be caused directly or indirectly as a result of its use. Applications or interpretations of the information represented herein. Take what you need and leave the rest.